Hi guys and welcome to CFC Fan TV. Now, I know what you're thinking. I'm much taller and much more handsome than Rory, and that's why I'm here.
Don't know about that. You're much taller, certainly.
Definitely much taller. I'll give yourself that. Ben Rebuck here. I'm joined by the one, the only Charlie the Hurricane Skillen. That's what I've been paid to call you.
Yeah, it's a fiver, yeah, mate. I'll pay you later.
Thank you very much. We're here to talk today all about the latest news that has all just kind of really come out quite recently about Sarri and what's going on with his, alleged move to Chelsea. Charlie.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a mental couple of days in the Chelsea world. I mean, even Zinedine Zidane quitting Real Madrid is big news to Chelsea. But we all know that while other clubs seem to be sorting themselves out, Chelsea, as is, usual for us, are in complete disarray.
Yep.
Now, last week it seemed like it was completely nailed on. The Maurizio Sarri, who won plaudits with his Napoli team for their, they challenged Juventus almost all the way for the Serie A title last season. They had some wonderful players and a wonderful style of football that one admires all over the world. It seemed like he was absolutely nailed on. That is not the case anymore. I'm not saying he definitely won't get the job, but Chelsea have cooled a lot on Sarri in the past 24, 48 hours. And it's a bit of a worrying development because I don't really know what the club does from here. I mean, I was told earlier in the week that it was either Sarri or Conte staying, and now Conte staying does not seem like an option at all. Just because, this, not so much on the pitch, but, the standoff between him and the board, the situation is completely untenable. The board, obviously, are in complete disarray at the minute. We know about the stadium thing. We know about Abramovich's visa. And yeah, the situation has regressed a lot. And what it does do is it puts more uncertainty on our summer. It slows up our transfer dealings a hell of a lot because clearly, whether the manager's in place or not, the club and those in power at the club have been making advances to sign players for the summer. People like Sarri, the midfielder, who Barcelona wanted last year and has also wanted by Liverpool. People like, even Lewandowski, someone like that. The club are looking into his situation.
I mean, from what I'd been told, that's a lot of the reason why Chelsea are interested in Sarri, because he's a bit more of a yes man and he'll build with whatever he's given.
Yeah, well, quite right. But when they're going towards all these targets, they are telling them this managerial situation will be sorted by the end of May. The end of May is like almost gone.
Yeah,
pretty much gone.
By the time you're watching this video, it's gone.
It's gone.
It's today. It's over.
It's done. And the situation is even murkier than it was last week. Now, I don't know whether I do know, but Sarri has never obviously won a trophy, and I think that Chelsea had the potential to look very, very silly in October if we'd played 10 games and won 5 and lost 5 and we're 15 points off the pace behind Man City, and we've sacked, on the face of it, we've sacked a manager that's won the Premier League and the FA Cup in 2 seasons, and nothing's going to plan. There's that. There's also a conversation that has cropped up with Roberto Mancini, who's obviously, a countryman of Sarri. Sarri made a sort of homophobic outburst at Mancini a few years ago, calling him lots of names that obviously we won't repeat on this video. He's obviously since apologised for it, but Chelsea, if you've read the reports, you've read The Guardian, you've read the Ken Bates stuff, you've read, the stuff about Gwyn Williams and Graham Ricks, suggest you go and do that if you haven't, because it's, an illuminating and slightly worrying, very worrying take on what our club was like in the 90s in terms of bringing through youth players. They're obviously ultra cautious at the minute to not rock the boat, to not get more of these bad headlines. I mean, there's a new, every couple of weeks it seems there's a new Chelsea youth player, be that black or white, who will testify to the racism that was going on at the club in the early 90s. And something, if you've got a strong personality like Roberto Mancini, talking about Sarri in terms of homophobic abuse and outbursts and bad language and hitting headlines for all the wrong reasons and things that really can scupper your appointment in England.
Yeah.
I mean, look, we're an ultra sensitive, in the right way. I mean, ultra sensitive sort of culture in terms of who's getting what job and what have they done and what sort of people are we allowing to have these top jobs. And look, I'm not going to be on camera saying Sarri's a homophobe, because I don't know. But this situation with Roberto Mancini has come to the fold, and it is worrying the Chelsea board.
So where do Chelsea go from here? Because, you know, the other names in the fray, as you say, like, you know, Conte doesn't look like he's going to stay, which I think we've all known for some time. Yeah. The other names there, is there anything that actually is really exciting as a Chelsea fan that's going to be such a step up from Conte?
A step up from Conte on the pitch, barring, you know, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that Conte should have definitely stayed, because there was clearly other problems. But barring, you know, that terrible 2-3 months in the middle of the season just gone, in terms of Conte on the pitch, I'd say certainly not. I mean, how could there be? He's won a trophy in every season for the past sort of 10 years or whatever. Style of play, I admit, and bringing through youngsters and whatever, hasn't been at the top of the agenda, which irks some people, and I can see why, and it's a culture that we want to foster at Chelsea. But yeah, I mean, they're sort of running out of names, really. I mean, the Luis Enrique was the early favourite, as he was for the Arsenal job, and it seems like his wage demands and what he expects in terms of his strength of power at the club and, you know, the culture that he wants to work with, doesn't seem like he's an option. And the latest name that's been mentioned is Laurent Blanc, who has been out of work for 2 years. And
there's been a lot of top jobs that have been available in those 2 years.
Yeah.
And there must be a reason why he's not gotten any of them.
No, I mean, it's kind of... It is a bit worrying, and I don't even want to tell you the other name that's been mentioned.
Oh, God.
In terms of Abramovich's close circle.
I'm not sure who you're... He's about Hiddink.
No, he led us to a champion... Or he was on the touchlines for a Champions League final that we were in.
Avram Grant.
Oh, yeah.
He's not actually been named, though.
He is having meetings with Roman Abramovich, and he is involved in this. He is involved in this process, 100% fact. Whether this ends up with him as Chelsea manager, I very much doubt. And I
very much doubt that.
I'll look into camera now and say, I certainly hope not. Otherwise, you're going to get a lot more angry videos.
It's a funny one because, you know, in the space of a very short amount of time, we had, you know, no idea. I mean, we now know a bit more about the stadium, but we didn't know anything about what was happening with the stadium.
Right.
We've got no director of football.
No.
We've signed no players. We've sold no players. Arguably our best player, we don't know if he's going to stay or go, and we don't know if we've got a manager or not. And it's all just a bit like, what actually is going on?
Apart from that, I'm buzzing.
Apart from that, yeah. It's like, where do we go from here? Because surely the managerial appointment, then, okay, forget the stadium, because that, surely the manager comes in, and then, you know, you get the director of football after that. Yeah. Then you get Hazard on a new deal if you can, and then you bring in the players that the manager wants. I mean, how do we go?
I do think that Hazard staying looks a lot more likely now that Zinedine Zidane has left Real Madrid.
Yeah.
I think Zidane was his open door to Real Madrid. I think the club's hierarchy have vastly different ideas.
Why don't we get Zidane? What's putting Chelsea off him?
Well, he was about as soon as he left Real Madrid. I think he was second or third favourite to be Chelsea manager, but that's only because of the lack of names out there. And in that press conference, I was in the office getting quite excited, telling people, yeah, Zidane's going to be down the bridge, it's going to be brilliant. And then, like, literally a minute later, he said, yeah, I'm not going to another club.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I don't think that'll happen. But in terms of the other ramifications for Chelsea, the Real Madrid hierarchy have vastly different plans than Hazard. They are absolutely dead set on getting Neymar either this summer or next. They want that deal to happen. They've got their future set on having Neymar at the Bernabeu. The other thing is with Zidane leaving, I think it also stops or greatly reduces the possibility of Gareth Bale leaving Real Madrid. Now, whether that was ever to Chelsea, we were obviously involved in that situation, but more to the point, obviously, he plays Hazard's position. So I can see a situation where Bale remains there for another year and Neymar comes the season after, because PSG, having spent all that money, definitely want 2 seasons after Neymar. So I do think that Hazard staying is now a lot more likely, and again, that is contingent on Conte leaving.
I mean, Hazard staying is obviously imperative for Chelsea next season. We know how important he can be. You saw in the cup final, that was really, that was him at his best, and we need that from him a lot more. But him staying, that's a real sign of intent from Chelsea. But away from Hazard quickly, just on the spot, right here, right now, Charlie the Hurricane Skillen, putting all your journalistic noose and everything into an answer. Who will be on the touchline for Chelsea Football Club next season?
Using all my journalistic nous and knowledge.
Yeah.
I haven't got a clue.
Not a clue.
I haven't got a clue. No.
As a fan, then, who would you like to see?
I still think there is a window open for Sarri. I think the club are running out of options. The only thing that's happened in the last week is that while Sarri looked like he was definitely going to happen, I think that situation has cooled a lot. So I think there's still a chance Sarri will be Chelsea manager. These problems can get ironed out. So yeah, if I was a betting man, I'd still say Sarri. But you know, these other names now are coming to the fore.
No chance for Conte.
I just can't see it, just because of the way relations have soured with the hierarchy at the club. Although there was definitely a move by the board and those, you know, the people that have these conversations. By that I mean Marina, I mean Abramovich, I mean some of the other kind of people at the football side of the club, of which there aren't many, of course. Getting cold feet and going, you know what, we could just keep this bloke. But I think it will have huge ramifications for the squad. I think a lot of players have fallen out with him, and I think it would be the easier move in terms of looking at after the squad to get rid of Conte.
Who literally needs to watch any sort of soaps or even star in any sort of soaps?
Hey, there he is.
When, you know, really we're the biggest soap opera in the world at the minute, and I think that's the only way to sort of stay tuned for.
We always... The one thing I will say is Chelsea always seems to thrive off this chaos. All these clubs who build a project and everyone knows what's happening. The manager's been there years, bringing through youth players. Yeah. It's nonsense.
Nah, it's good fun.
Let's just do this.
It's good fun.
Let's just do this and go and win the cup.
100%. We're going to win the league next season. We're going to win the Europa League. I nearly said Champions League.
Yeah.
We'll be definitely talking about more, you know, Chelsea nonsense like this, because who even knows what's going on. We'll be talking loads more I should say about that over the next coming weeks, so make sure to stay tuned. Thank you for joining us, Charlie. Thank you.
Always, mate.
It's been nice.
Joining us? What do you mean me joining you?
Alright, well, you know, I've been put on the spot here.
Alright, come on.
I'm not reading the scripts broken. Guys, thank you. Make sure to subscribe, and we'll hopefully see you, or they'll hopefully see you very soon. Happy?
Yeah, go on.
Bastard.